usisahau, tuma WhatsApp for a chance ya kuwin your share of 2 million shillings in amazing prizes. Cadbury, there's a glass and a half in everyone. T's and C's apply.
A new day dawns. And with it come new opportunities. And behind it all is the bold, strong start you need with the rich, smooth taste of Nescafe Creamy White. Made with hand-selected coffee beans, perfectly balanced with creamer and sugar. This is a cup of Kujituma.
Are you building a home, a church, a school, a godown, or any other premise? Homelink Mabati Factory is your trusted partner in roofing. Enjoy amazing discounts on our products, including box profile, V-tile, prime tile, and canopy sheets. We customize your roof and deliver your order in just 48 hours. Call us on 0794 800 000. Homelink Mabati Factory. We promise, we deliver.
Every Kenyan, every destination, Ruby's is where better journeys begin.
Niko Ruby's.
Niko Ruby's Kisumu.
Niko Ruby's Narok.
Niko Ruby's Langata.
Niko Ruby's Mombasa.
Niko Ruby's Keno. Mom!
Joy isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a shared smile, a small victory, a bite that takes you back. Across the years, across the table, some things never change. It's joy passed down and served again. Farmer's Choice has always been there, giving you trusted, wholesome nutrition for generations. Farmer's Choice, timeless joy.
Your dad came to my house, and he threatened that he wouldn't let me get close to my child.
What?
It seems more like he only wanted to be alone with you, and you agreed to it. Tell me the truth. Do you still have feelings for him?
I can't believe you're asking me this.
Don't you think I have the right to know about it?
No. This is a news that I felt I needed to share with you.
But how can you say that? The baby you're carrying is mine.
The baby that I'm expecting belongs to Ismail.
Florencia, come on, please.
Thank you for staying with the Monday Report. Let's start that conversation now on the state of cohesion. We'd like to hear your views and your questions at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Monday Report. Let me introduce my guests real quick, starting from Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome, is a Muslim scholar, is joining us online from Eldoret. Sheikh, thanks for making time. With me in studio is Dr. Danvas Makori, NCIC Commissioner. Thank you very much for making time. Trevor. And Bishop Dr. Kefa Omai, the chairperson of the Kenya Coalition of Church Alliances and Ministries, also the former presiding bishop of Redeemed Gospel Church Incorporated. Thank you for making time.
Thank you very much, Trevor.
Sheikh, I'll start with you on this. Let's just get a general pulse of where we're heading as a country. Do you think we are heading in the wrong direction, judging by the utterances that have been there and the tension that has been around the country, or is it just politicians who seem to be playing this out of proportion?
Trevor, anybody who is concerned about the well-being of this country and the future of this country should be very concerned about what is happening in the country. The kind of utterances we are hearing at a time when one would expect that, especially our leadership, political leadership, they would choose their words carefully, and especially when in public space. So it is very worrying. The situation in the country is very worrying. But I want to say this all is not lost. But if we continue in this trajectory, Trevor, This is not good for the country. Therefore, I think we need to arrest the situation. Like when somebody starts talking about women steal votes, when somebody talks about shooting people in the legs, then somebody else says, shoot to kill. It's not the kind of language we should use at this time in the country. We should use language carefully select to pacify the country and address the real issue this country now.
Okay. Makori, have the leaders been reckless with their utterances?
Thanks, Trevor, for having me tonight. I would say yes to an extent, because I know there's a chapter that does not exist in our Constitution. It's non-existent. We forgot about it. It does not exist. It's called Chapter 6. It's non-existent. As a leader, we have a responsibility in how we engage, how we talk, how we carry out ourselves. I have a responsibility, both by law and just by common sense. Yeah. So no matter how bad a situation is, I have a responsibility to articulate, to be the sobering voice, to be the calming voice, even in the midst of chaos and confusion, as I ought to be the one pointing, because that's why it's defined by leadership. It's to lead. Yeah, you lead first by what you say, and more importantly by what you do. Yes. Now, to a point also beyond that, also, you know what is actually scary. It's not even what the leaders are saying publicly, which you put it on news and it's on social media. It's what people are saying on the ground. And I think for me, my concern is not so much the utterances that are public by leaders. You know, Trevor, if ground vision is different. If you listen to what people are saying, because my ear is keenly on the ground from sources, from talking to people personally, just from various how we collect information ourselves. And the conversation actually is actually quite shocking, Trevor.
What are they saying?
There is, you know, for a long time now, history. So let me put it in context what they are saying. We've always disagreed politically. So you take a side, I take a side, and we argue my side is better than yours. Okay, that's fine. That's politics, that's democracy. Yeah, that's fine. Now we've gone beyond that to a level. There's a palpable anger and actually hatred towards certain people, certain class of people, especially the elite, generally speaking. There is a very high level of discontent. And there's a level of bitterness too, yeah? Because they feel they're not being heard, nothing is changing. So that frustration has morphed into bitterness and resentment.
Okay.
And to me, that's not a very good emotion. And one, sooner or later, of course, it will come out, it will wrap, yeah.
We'll talk about what you're doing about it as NCIC in just a bit. But Bishop, is there a cause for concern?
Thank you, Trevor, first of all, for having me here together with the panelists. The truth is, there is concern from all quarters as to what is happening in our country. And whenever you see all sections of the community raising the same concerns, speaking the same language, talk about economic issues, talk about social challenges that are affecting all of us, then that itself raises a very major concern and must be acted upon and should not be ignored. So there is a serious, genuine, legitimate concern. I mean, we are seeing, for example, how our economy is doing right now. We've just heard about the increase of fuel in this country. That's an economic issue. What must we do to address that? Must we ignore that there is no economic challenge? Talk about social injustices in this country. Must we assume that there are no social injustices? And there are so many other challenges that we have as a country. And I would say this is exactly what Kenyans have been raising. Forget about the Gen Zs alone. Those are our sons and daughters who have come out in the open to articulate issues that are actually affecting us as a community. All that we need to do is to listen and act.
Okay.
And I believe in our conversation, we are coming up with the way forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Makori, what are you doing as NCIC to sort of pacify the nation? One of your roles is to ensure there's a bit of national unity. And you've been accused as NCIC of being almost selective when it comes to applying this. Have you summoned all the leaders who seem to be spewing vitriol? Have they come to you? Some of them have outright said they're not coming.
Yes.
The former deputy president said he's not coming.
Yeah.
And you haven't done anything about it.
Okay, let me start by that one. You know, we use this phrase very selectively sometimes, a country of rule of law. But when we follow the law, it is for the safety of everybody else. So it's not that we've not done anything about it. By law, when you're someone and you don't show up, we take your file to the DPP, which we took the file to the DPP and seeking an arrest warrant. So we are waiting for the DPP to issue an arrest warrant because we give him a fair chance to, he didn't show up. The next procedure is, and he's arrested. So the moment the DPP clears, gives the arrest warrant, he'll be arrested and in court to answer the charges. So I think at one point is when you understand how the law is and you realize there's only so much we can do. We have separation of powers. We investigate, we don't prosecute. So the people who prosecute, they have the file, and the day they choose to give us green light, well, he will be arrested.
But why
for that.
Summoned all the leaders?
Well, we actually have. I think anybody who's said anything that qualifies as hate speech, and this is, Trevor, is important, Kenyans also need to understand, not everything that leaders say that is offensive is legally hate speech. You understand? Our leaders say very, very reckless things, very incendiary things, very bad things, very offensive things. Unfortunately, also in our constitution, they have a right to say offensive things. But doesn't come to the threshold of hate speech. You understand? So for those we know what they have said comes to that threshold, of course we've summoned them. So people say, okay, he said that, why didn't you summon him? Well, because by law, today if a bishop says something I don't like, I just can't summon him, Trevor. You understand? He might say something offensive, or he's a bishop, he doesn't, but let's say he's a politician, you understand? So, Trevor, for those who have said, and I can provide the list, I'll send the list to you, you realize we summoned all of them across the board. Now, that is not preventive. That is almost reactive, because they say, in a nutshell, there's certain things we're doing, especially within mashinani, kwa ground huko, because that's where the real problem is. Last year, we launched a framework called Transgeneration Conversations. Hasn't really picked, hasn't really gone the way we wanted because of funding, of course. Has been hamstrung by that. But the little that we've been able to do, especially within informal settlements, because that's where trouble is, that's where trouble brews, especially from political contests, we were able to engage that. Now, is it enough? Not necessarily, to be honest with you. Hamstrung with funds, we are doing much. But also, thirdly, that's why we're here, that's why I'm here, and not here in other places, engaging the nation face-to-face, because sometimes it works. And behind the scenes also, lastly, Trevor, one thing we discovered last time during election is when you engage one-on-one with these politicians, with these people, you're able to dissuade them and persuade them otherwise, because it is very much more effective rather than wait for them to say something. You know the troublemakers, they always say click, you say, you know what, hey, we need to have a tea, we need to talk down, we need to calm down, and that's it, sometimes they listen.
Okay. Yeah. Sheikh, how important is a national dialogue during this time of national division?
Trevor, of course, when you talk about dialogue, it means talking with each other, because right now what is happening, we are talking at each other. So dialogue is about talking with each other. So for me, if you ask me, we must talk with each other. The problem is not just somebody coming up with a proposal that we need to dialogue, but are we sincere about it? Unfortunately, this is happening at a time when Kenyans don't trust their leaders. We don't trust our leaders. We don't trust what they say. And it's because of the past record, their records in the past. Sometimes back, it was, let's talk with each other, and there was NADCO. What came out of NADCO? So I would really support dialogue, but with a rider. Genuine dialogue that is not just meant to gain political mileage, or what I call cosmetic, that is cosmetic. It has to be genuine dialogue, a dialogue that is based on the real issues affecting us. And I like what the bishop said here. We cannot hide our heads in like the proverbial ostrich, that there are no problems in Kenya. We have problems, genuine problems. Not only the Gen Zs. Ask any Kenyan, they will tell you what is ailing them, what is ailing the country. So it should be dialogue, not to whitewash. A dialogue that will address the real issues that are affecting us. We need to discuss the underlying root causes of the problems that today, even when a leader stands up and promises to do something, the next day the Gen Zs will even make fun of it because they don't take them seriously or they don't believe they mean what they say. So dialogue, yes, we must talk with each other. We cannot keep on throwing words at each other. If this country sinks, all of us sink. And I've always, on this platform, on this forum, I told you, Trevor, that when you have a problem, then you're required to solve it. Even my religion tells me, when there is something wrong where you're staying, we call that munkar, something that is evil, that is bad. Then you are required as a person who thinks, as a person that God has blessed with intellect, you need to look for a solution. But as you're removing that harmful thing, think of a solution that will not create a bigger problem. And I gave you this example. You cannot beautify your face by chopping off your nose. You'll be making it worse. So what we need to do, we need to be very sober, away from politics, away from 2027, for God's sake. We have 2 years to go to the election year. Away from who is the president, who is the opposition, who is that, who lost their seats. It's like we are Kenyans. We have a problem in this country. We have no other country to go to.
Yeah.
These are the real issues affecting us. So we talk on the real issues. But you know why people are not taking it seriously, Trevor?
Yeah.
It's politics. We've learned to politicize everything. That is the problem.
Bishop, how do you ensure we have genuine dialogue like what Sheikh is saying? Because it's true what he's saying, that if the country sinks, we all sink. How do we have genuine dialogue?
Let me begin by adding to what Sheikh Lethome has actually said. Genuine conversations or dialogue is the way out. I want to begin from there. We cannot run away from legitimate, genuine dialogue. What is happening in our country, and from what we are hearing, is the trust deficit. The trust deficit needs to be fixed. And it can only be fixed by acting on what Kenyans are asking and what they are saying. I wanted to begin from there. So, dialogue is the way out. I want to bring us back to the years that have gone. Whenever we had a crisis in this country, Trevor, and I'm sure you are aware of this, dialogue was given a chance. And even the same politicians that are saying they don't want to sit, they don't want to talk, because of the trust deficit, of course, and because they feel that no action seems to be taking place. But what has happened before is whenever we had a crisis in this country, the truth is we sat around the table. The stakeholders came together. And I can say confidently, the interfaith leadership would sit with the leadership of the nation, of the country, together with the other stakeholders from the different sectoral forums. And we will talk with each other. That's why I want to agree with Sheikh, not to each other. What's happening right now, it's the name calling. We are even riding on propaganda, misinformation, disinformation. If I want to bring you, Trevor, down, what I'll do is I'll find a weakness that you have and, come up with something that will paint you black and bring you down. And that becomes a narrative. We run with it. I think it is time we came back to ourselves. It's time we began to ask ourselves pertinent questions. Yes, we have challenges as a nation. Yes, there are things that need to be fixed. Yes, our leadership in the country have become toxic, and they have become destructive in their politics. What must be done? Let's come together and reason together, as the Bible says. That's the way out. Anybody that's going to say that we do not want any national dialogue or conversation, I think is not genuine. The truth is, what has brought us this far as a nation is legitimate, authentic, national conversation.
Yeah, but Bishop, how do we achieve that at a time when some of the political leaders, including the president just yesterday, accused religious leaders like yourselves of inciting the Gen Zs? The Gen Zs themselves say they are leaderless. They don't have anyone. The politicians don't trust each other. So how then do you have a genuine conversation in a team of people? There's a lot of mistrust.
Yeah, that's right. It's an environment that has been created, or the atmosphere in our country has been created in such a way that it looks like even if we came together, nothing can be agreed upon. I believe Kenya is a unique country. We have never lost. Whenever we were in a crisis, the elders in this country, the interfaith leadership, and the multi-sectoral forum leadership came together and demanded that this is the way we ought to go. And therefore, we must bring our leaders to account. Because they are our employees. Kenyans are the ones who gave them the work that they are doing, the positions that they have. We should not fear them. We have to call it as it is, but at the same time make sure we deal with this toxicity, you know, and the way it is going on right now, the kind of politics that is going on is destructive. Because the truth is, there are no two ways. It is through dialogue. But this dialogue must be structured, it must be genuine, and action must follow. Once we do that, I believe there will be no issue in this country.
Makori, what is the official position of the NCIC on dialogue?
Way before there was conversations about dialogue, and unfortunately dialogue is a dirty word in our country now, especially within the young people. They don't want to hear it. So way before there was that, because they have seen in the past where that phrase or that idea has been taken and a few people benefit, we actually launched transgenerational conversations. Because there has to be some level of engagement. Now, why that is important, and this is, allow me to use to be a little bit technical, just for a minute. There's something called, an acronym called PEAD in conflict management. It's called position, interest, and need. So what is people's positions? What they say in public. This group says this group says that. And there's the interest. What is somebody's interest? And what is somebody's need? And oftentimes they're not, interest and need and position are not, they're usually incongruent. Somebody would say one thing, but is interested in another thing. Now, if you look at the current conversations where Bishop was highlighting, there's a clamor for something, and the youth and the population in general want a better country. So there's a leadership. That is the interest. There's a commonality to that. Now, they say different things opposite, but actually in interest, they have the same interest. Hopefully, they want something good. They want good for the country. The administration wants the country to be better. The youth want the country to be better. So that is a commonality interest. So we, as an institution that mediates conflict, you look at the underlying issues. Is there commonality interest? As the needs the same? Then we can have an engagement. Then I can be able to tell people, by the way, as much as you're saying, this is your position, but guess what? You all want the same thing. So at the end of the day, there's this narrative, and this is why this is important, that the young people, the Gen Zs, are against the government. So that has been crafted over time, It is young people versus the government, and there are people in government that believe that, and they're saying we need to do something, and it's almost like the government is at war with young people. Actually, that is a very incorrect narrative, because in reality, Trevor, it is not so. I see young people like there's a bishop here, like David in the Bible, where they have a new way of doing things. Goliath is a problem we are facing. They are saying we have a giant called corruption. We have a giant who's killing our country, called inequality, unemployment. So we are saying we have a way of solving the problem. So we instead of seeing the young people as the enemy is what they are telling us, and what the administration actually campaigned against such things. So we should come together now to our point of position and tell the people, tell the country, by the way, guess what? We have a common enemy, and it's not ourselves. Yeah, it is not us. It is these things which we all collectively now need to come together and confront them and address them and find a solution.
So NCSE believes this is going to happen through dialogue, is it?
Yes, engagement, yes. Conversation engagement, yes.
All right.
Yes.
And Sheikh, you know, Makori is raising an interesting thing here, that the government seems to look at the Gen Zs versus the government like they are against them. But we've also had some ethnic conversations coming up. Is that just a diversionary tactic of politicians looking to divert the attention of the country, or is it a genuine concern? Because we've had it even right from the head of state, saying that Kibaki was there, Moi was there, none of these things happened. Why is it happening only to me?
Trevor, let me say this. There is something you mentioned. So before I respond directly to what you've just asked, let me just add my voice to what you said here. Religious leaders have been blamed, parents have been blamed, and this is where we are getting it wrong. Trevor, if there is a problem in my homestead, then I should not solve the problem by blaming my wife or blaming the children, blaming the house girl or blaming the shamba boy there. That will not help. What we need to do, and this is what we are refusing to do, Trevor, taking up responsibility. If I was in the political leadership of this country, I would not be focusing much on who should I blame for this. I should first ask myself, what is my responsibility? Have I discharged my duty properly? Then if each one of us, Trevor, you as a media person, ask yourself, what have you done? Because you have a role to play to make this country a better place. Dr. Makori there, you have a role to play. You should be asking, instead of blaming the other institutions, you should be asking yourself, what have you done? Because you have a responsibility. Myself and Bishop here, we should be asking ourselves, what have we done? And even if you look at it from a religious point of view, each one is supposed to act responsibility, and we shall be answerable for whatever position we are holding. Now, what we are seeing now is pointing a finger at everybody else except to yourself. That way we are not going to solve the problem. Can we own up where we have failed? And then, can we also try to control this issue of ethnicity? Every person now trying to run back into their ethnic cocoon. Yes, I know. Kenya, we are not homogeneous. We are a diverse country. If you look at our beautiful constitution, in the preamble, we are proud of our diversity. But in the same preamble, we say we are committed to stay together as a one indivisible country. And this is where, Makori, you need to come in hard, because you have been mandated by the constitution to crack down on people making such utterances. People talking tribal, to people trying to incite one ethnic community against the other, talking about us. Why didn't it happen to this and that person? And when you listen to what the way our politicians are talking, is like, if I'm being harassed because I do not belong to a certain community, can we start talking as Kenyans and not like, I belong to this community or that community? Why did it not happen to so and so? I think this is what we need to address. So for me, the bottom line, Trevor, can we own up and take up responsibility instead of blaming everybody else except ourselves?
Yeah, and thank you, Sheikh. Bishop, speaking of taking responsibility, critics say the church has not spoken out strongly against ethnic divisions that are currently coming up.
You know, it's interesting because that has always been the perception, that the church has not spoken. Trevor, you're aware that we have even gone to the extent of inviting media houses to come to our press conferences, and we have issued statements. The only thing is, like I may have shared with you earlier on, you seem to be giving toxic toxic politicians and destructive politicians a lot of space instead of beginning to search for the voices of reason. And we have eminent persons in this country. We have voices of reason in this country. Listen to what Sheikh is saying and what Bishop here is saying, and there are others. Why not make use of these elders from all these sectors, and we are talking about different sectors of our nation, because here we are talking about cohesion and what we must do to tame what we are seeing happening in this country, as opposed to bringing politicians who are toxic in nature to your media platforms to actually make it worse. So it's a call that we need to be responsible, all of us, and begin to look at this point, let's begin to look at who must we bring onto our platforms. Whenever, for example, the religious bodies are issuing press statements, the media should be there and give them enough time, because now we are asking ourselves, how do we come out of this quagmire? How do we come out of this situation or the atmosphere that has been created by politicians in this country? And I will say this without any fear of contradiction, that our political leaders have done us a lot of harm as a nation. And I will not hesitate to say that, because they are fighting for their personal interests. A political leader is fighting for his survival, political interests as leaders. And we forget we need transformational leaders who can actually now begin to look at Kenyans as a whole. Because when we talk about cohesion, we are talking about equality. We are talking about a shared vision. We are talking about everybody having part in the national cake. But is that the case in this country? So politicians want to find a way of surviving. They're looking at the 2027 as opposed to what is my neighbor eating? What are our people going to eat? We have these young people, for example, who are unemployed. They're on the streets. They have come to the end of themselves. What must we do? We are channeling so many of these graduates from universities. What have we put in place? I know the president has again and again talked about creating employment, etc. Yeah. But are we feeling it? And it's not only for the president, but it's also even for the county governors. They have been given the powers, they have the resources. What are they doing in the counties? Okay. Every leader in this country, even as religious leaders, need to find a way of creating sort of some employment opportunities. Yeah, because like in the case of our churches, we have, for example, schools, we have hospitals, etc. All right, and we have assimilated in quite a number of our young people, but it's not enough. So if everybody came in strong and created employment opportunities in this country, in other words, I keep on hearing this narrative, Serikali's idea, Serikali's idea. Now, what if a leader like me came up with an enterprise in my village, or came up with something that will benefit the community where I come from? Every leader does that. We will actually, within a very short time, change the discourse in this country. Okay. So what is happening over here, Trevor, is that the church is doing a part. Okay. But we also ask the political class in this country to be responsible enough in their talks, in their politics. And let us not look at the 2027, but let us look at our brothers and sisters sleep hungry. Look at the businesses, for example, which have been destroyed in the name of demonstrations. I mean, it has been terrible. We cannot allow this to continue
happening. Makori, you had mentioned earlier on that you'll give us the list of the people that NCIC has summoned, and we'll hold you to account to that. So we're hoping by tomorrow morning we'll have that list. You will. Do you have a way as NCIC to assess the rising ethnic tension? No. And what is the data showing?
No, we do, actually. I'm glad you asked that question. We have a system, do early warning and response, EWAR. And it is vast. We collect a lot of data, we process it, we're able to see. And you know what is amazing? Sometimes data it shocks our reality. There's what we perceive to be true and what is true actually as it is.
Exactly. That's what I'm asking. The data.
So let me ask you a question. And when or who started this narrative of negative ethnicity or tribal politics? Because if you look at the country last year, we were fairly, by all measures, all indicators that we look at, very cohesive and united as an identity of a country, okay? Even after last year's protest, even as last year ended, the country was fairly in terms of identity. So when you look at a cohesion index, and I'll read some of the data here, there's what people perceive and what's the reality. So we look at all that. Yeah. And even in conversations, local conversations in villages, in groups, in barazzas, in social media groups, in WhatsApp groups, there wasn't really that as a narrative. Now, tribalism wasn't an issue. Okay. People were just talking about the issues that we all struggle as a Kenyan. We all know, we argue about this, that, and that. Then the past couple of months, I think there was an uptick. And that conversation came and has really ticked up. I would say, if you look at our data, it has picked up probably the last 2 weeks.
So the negative tribalism has only picked the last 2 weeks?
Really picked up. Okay. Now, how it has picked up, if you look at, so when you look at social media, because we do social media monitoring too, you look at, of course, who says what, for example. Says Trevor says what. But if you look at where it's coming from, it's not organic. So it's not me as an individual talking bad about your ethnic group, Trevor. No. It's, unfortunately, it's a paid enterprise, put it that way. There is an intention, and this is very important, there's an intention to almost drive that narrative, even from both sides, actually. I'm not blaming just one side.
So you're saying the political class...
Yeah, there is an intention, because...
paying people to push that negative...
There is an enterprise you can see. You can see the bots, you can see it's a bot pushing a certain narrative, because it's not organic. Because sometimes something genuinely goes viral, yeah? But then you can see how data and how we look at data, because it's just a bot. The paid bloggers and bots trying to push the narrative. And that's why our concern is when there's an intention, this is where I'm coming from. There's an intention to bring that to a forefront of our conversations, which is negative ethnicity and tribal politics, which has not been the case, okay? Then now you can see people's response. So there's what is being pushed and what is now people's response. So we look at what are people saying. And you know what is shocking now, this is what I'm saying, data. For the most part, Trevor, what is surprising is majority of Kenyans actually are rejecting that. Actually, for true, if you look at comments and now retweets and comment section downline, you can see people actually are not really buying that. It's being pushed, but they're saying, no, we still have issues that we need to address as a country. So my attitude is to leaders and politicians, Kenyans generally don't want that. They actually don't. And so when there's an uptick of ethnicity and tribal politics for the population, if you look at sentiment analysis, you're like, no, they are pushback. They're saying no. For the most part, I'd say 80% are rejecting that narrative. Of course, there's a few people who will take it because, of course, we are fallen human beings and we are sinful and we'll do bad things. But for the most part, Kenyans actually are in wholesale saying, no, we don't want to go that. They're being pushed there, but they don't want to go there. Yes.
All right, Sheikh, so what do we do from here? Because that's another interesting narrative that Makori brings up, that there is a deliberate push to create ethnic divisions. But also, there are genuine concerns that Kenyans actually do have. And you even mentioned some of them: economic pressure, there's social issues. There are genuine issues, and then there's the additional that is somehow being pushed.
So what do we need to do? Not doing anything is not a choice for us, because we have no other country to go to. This is the only country that God Almighty, in His wisdom, He gave us this country. And I keep on saying, we are not Kenyans by accident, but by God's divine plan. So we must do something. So where do we begin with? Trevor, you know, and especially people, the younger generation and the rest, and from 2002, people talk a lot about haki yangu, haki yangu. I would want us to begin by dropping haki yangu na tuanze kuzungumzia jukumu langu, my responsibility. From the top to the bottom. Let's begin from the top. Ask yourself, what is my responsibility to this country? then if each one of us focuses on my responsibility, then we're going to address the situation. Then, again, I'm going to draw now from the religious teachings because that is where I am an authority. We are told when you find, if any one of you discovers that there is something bad, there is something evil, and that's why we are here today, we are talking because something is terribly bad in the country, then all of us do not have the same capacity. What the bishop can do, Trevor, as a media, as a journalist, you cannot do. What Makori can do as a commissioner in this constitutional commission, I cannot do. Or the person in the street cannot do that. But each one of us can do something. So back to the teaching of religion, it tells us this. Whoever amongst you sees a bad thing, then if you are in a position to use your hand to change it, then do it. And I'm talking now to Makori and the commission and the chairman of the commission. They can do something, they can take action. The police can do something. Those people in positions of responsibility can do something. Then we go to the next level. If you cannot do something using your hand, then word of mouth. And this is where you'll find myself and Bishop here. We can play that, and we must play that role by talking to our people. Bishop on Sunday, the congregation that comes there, the people that listen to you, and considering the power of religion, the people who come to the mosque and they listen to me. We should use that. And then you, the media also, stop giving space to people you know, because I know at the end of the day, maybe you just want to sell news, and we know news is when the dog is bitten by a human being, not when the dog bites a human being. Trevor, you people can also be responsible and say, today, actually, Trevor, you know politicians that when they open their mouth, what they are going to do is not pacify the country. And you know them, Trevor. You know them. And we know people, give them a blackout. That is your role, okay? And for those who cannot do anything, stop being cheerleaders. You're cheering when you see something bad. Instead of talking against it, you're cheering what is bad. So if each one of us begins by saying, what can I do? And do what it is that you can do, I believe we can save this country. Again, bring in changes. Again, I'm going to use the word I've used before. Not superficial, whitewashing changes for political mileage. Real changes that people have to see. Of course, we don't expect magic. And sometimes I sympathize with the political leadership because they give a lot of promises and they raise the expectations of Kenyans up there. Okay, we don't expect you to perform miracles. You're not Moses in the Bible or in the Quran. But please, talk to Kenyans what you're able to do. Let them see. And when you say, for example, let me give you an example, Trevor. We say we are undergoing a lot of economic difficulties, constraints. We must tighten the belt. If I did that to my family, they should see that in me, that I begin by tightening my belt. Not they see me buying another designer suit from Italy, yet I'm telling them, tighten our belt. And believe me, if we see genuine concern from the leadership up there, samaki wanza kuoza kwenye kichwa, Waswahili wanasema. If we see genuine changes from up there, and they talk, we are human beings, we'll understand. Bishop will talk to the congregation in the church. I will talk to my people in the mosque. Trevor, you'll make sure that you carry out news there that will bring cohesion in the country. The work for Makori, I even sympathize with them. I pity Makori and his team because I know the kind of difficult work they have, and especially with politicians. And if we focus on our responsibilities, we're going to save this country. And of course, prayer. Bishop, we have to pray for this country.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheikh. Let me bring in some feedback real quick, and then I'll give you each a chance for closing remarks because we're running out of time here. Let's bring up the feedback and see what you're saying. At Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Monday Report. Let's see what MC Rumors is saying. He says, NCIC is a toothless bulldog. They just bark but can't bite. Why are warmongers or inciters not held accountable? NCIC is a waste of taxpayers' money. it should be disbanded. This I'll give you a chance to respond to before we go into anything else. You can just respond to this right now because it's a direct affront to NCIC.
I think there's certain things we need to be true to ourselves as a country, and I get these sentiments. We hear this all the time. And here's the reality in a very quick sense. Number one, when NCC was created by politicians who pushed the country to the brink of civil war last time, they knew for sure they would want an entity that is as powerful to hold them accountable. So legally speaking, a legal mechanism, the framework that we operate in, isn't robust enough for us to do that. Secondly, operations. You see, if you're going to give somebody a mandate to do something, well, you give them resources to do that. So if there is absolutely no resource to do that, which they can actually be true. So such a statement is true is because, number one, if you look at legal mandate, if you look at the resource given, there isn't so much you can do to do what your mandate is. So little that you can do because there's no resource. So to an extent, now the solution is not to disband the issue, something needs to be done. There's three things that can be done, Trevor. Number one, we can amend our act, which is in the process. That is one option. Amend it to give it the robustness that it can. Number two, there's something called the Peace Building Architecture that was launched a few months ago. It was funded by UNDP, the government of Kenya, looking at Kenya in the next 30 years. They call for a forming of a new commission, almost similar to what we are doing, that has vast powers, well-funded, and representation coming from various sectors of society, like Regional Council of Kenya. And number three is NADCO recommended it be merged by other commissions, which it will have some serious constitutional issues. So there's basically, well, let's put it this way, it cannot remain the way it is. Something has to be done, needs to be done. So you agree
that as it is right now, NCIC is almost inept?
No, we're not as effective as we ought to be. I'm being honest here. Okay. Given the legal framework we operate in, given the resources that we have. Now, in 2022, just to answer your question, when we had resources, the difference gap right now between 2022 and now is 250 million. We were well resourced. We executed a peaceful election. The country, we were visible. People were impactful. I mean, the country saw us, felt us. We worked very closely with our International Council of Kenya. They know our work. We were there. When that envelope was gone, when that resource was gone, well, there's not much you can do.
Is there a deliberate plan to cut down on NCIC's powers?
I wouldn't. I don't know. Let me put it that way. But whether the liberty, okay, I don't know by who. You understand? Somebody has to. But let's put it this way: there has been a significant reduction. To be honest to you, to all Kenyans, significant reduction from operating budget that we had during the election, and now, I mean, significant, from 800 and something million to 500 million, which only covers operating. You pay salaries, you pay rent. That's it. There's not much you can do. So I'm being honest with you. So there has been. So whether it's deliberate or not, I do not know. But the fact is there's been a significant reduction of resources.
Okay. Bishop, you want to jump in a quick...
Yeah. I'm listening to Dr. Makori. Yeah. And actually, this is what Kenyans are asking. Where is NCIC? Yes. Where are they? Where's the commission? Mm-hmm. Because according to us as Kenyans, mm-hmm. the National Integration Commission is charged with the responsibility of making sure there is peace building, there is cohesion, among other things, in this country. As this negative rhetorics and what we are hearing politicians are uttering at the public space, you don't seem to be hearing voices from the commission.
Yeah.
And we've been asking ourselves the question, is it that they are underfunded? Because we do understand you need to do a lot of talks, civic education, making sure there is the restoration of the national ethos and values in this country. And for me, that's a very important segment of what the commission is supposed to be doing. Yeah. And we have had a discussion in some of our forums, and the truth is, what you have said, we feel that the commission need to be revamped, need to be restructured, and need to be robust enough. And also ensure whatever they do is anchored in the law. Because without that, that statement that has come from one of the comments that we have seen begins to actually become so clear, they can't bite.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Sheikh, you're the one who gave us this challenge of everyone doing what they need to do and taking responsibility. You've heard what the Commission is saying, that somehow the legal mandate, their resources, all that are issues that they have to consider. So how then do you operate at optimum when you've not been facilitated to operate at optimum?
Again, this is a problem. And the reason why actually this commission is anchored in the Constitution is to give it that independence so that they can operate without fear or favor. And you know what is expected is when, there's something we call deterrence, taking deterrence action. When Kenyans see a person, from maybe a person holding a certain position in society, making certain utterances, and then they see nothing is happening, of course, they do not have the capacity to understand that Makori and his commission are underfunded. What Kenyans want to see is action. And you see where the problem is. Sometimes, we might tend to blame a lot and lack of resources, enough resources and the rest. But for me, for this commission to be seen to be active, Kenyans want to see you, Makori, and your team acting on the big fishes. You see, the other day on this very TV here, one of the journalists was making fun, I'll not mention the names, but Trevor, you know who I mean, was dared by a fellow journalist on Thursday, and he was told, I dare you utter what was uttered by a certain Mheshimiwa somewhere, and see whether you're even going to finish this program that you're doing here. Why? The journalist is a small fish. There is a big fish there. Makori, resources or no resources, we want to see you cracking the whip on big fish, and the small fishes and the small people down there will take you from that. You see, people have made utterances here that amount to hate speech. Whichever way you want to look at it, you don't need to be an expert to know whether this is hate speech or not. Inciting Kenyans against other Kenyans, inciting Kenyans to violence. But because it's a big person there, when Kenyans see no action is taken, like now, for example, the person who said, I don't even want to agree with shooting the legs and breaking the legs. I want shoot to kill. Makori, I would ask you, what have you done about that? What has the commission done about that? And this is what the Kenyan in the street is waiting to see. I know there are technicalities, you have to follow the law and the rest, but eventually, if Kenyans see you taking action against a big fish in Kenya, then that will be deterred, it will deter others from doing it. But when people make these utterances and nothing is being done, the common mwananchi in the streets of Nairobi does not know that maybe your cash is stranded, you are not well funded, and the rest. I want to see action, Makori. Makori, I pity you, I sympathize with your commission.
I agree, Trevor. I absolutely agree with 100% with Sheikh Thome, and I've worked with him, so I absolutely agree with him. I take everything what you said is true. Just a small correction. NCAC is not a constitutional commission. It is created by an act of parliament, which is part of the problem. You understand? When you create by act of parliament, yeah, if parliament decides tomorrow, they say, oh, you know what, getting rid of you guys, that's about it. So we don't have that constitutional protection as, let's say, LHCR or IBC or other commissions that are there. But on everything you've said, I agree with you. Sheikh, I absolutely agree with you.
Okay,
yes.
Let's bring up the feedback and see what you're saying here as we wind up on this conversation. And Kate Besk says, have you noted Kenyans are so united until politicians arrive at the moment they need votes? Kenyans should take cue and always strive to embrace togetherness. Rebuke any form of division because Kenya needs us. Okay? Abdi says, a timely reminder from Sheikh Ibrahim Ithome, at a time when the nation is on the edge, political leaders must act with restraint and wisdom, not recklessness. Words have power. They can heal or inflame. That's right. Sir Nixon says, genuine dialogue involves reasoning together with growth mindset. A fixed mindset often resists engaging in dialogue, particularly when it involves challenges or feedback, because it views abilities as static and unchangeable. Okay? Orutwa, Sam says, people are tired of being used by political leaders who always plant seeds of division. When it germinates, they make an about turn, pretending that division is in the country, is the making of citizens, and yet they are the pillars of tribalism. That's right. Frederick Okango says the proposed intergenerational national conversation isn't about Raila or Ruto. It's about Kenya, especially the young people who have marched, cried, bled, and screamed into systems that have ignored their pain for too long. Okay? Crispina Saddam says the current crisis is a national issue that affects all Kenyans across all generations. Kenya needs a structured dialogue free of political capture that includes leaders from all sectors. The issues of concern have been there for years. We must now take up the responsibility and have the courage to confront and address historical injustices. Justice must prevail before peace. Sheikh, closing remarks, just 10 seconds each.
Prayer and action, we should turn to God Almighty.
Okay.
God is able. We need to pray, but also take the appropriate action. But again, the end that does not justify the means. Okay. Even when you have a genuine problem to address, then choose a means that is not going to create a bigger problem. Thank you.
Bishop, closing remarks.
That's right. Dialogue is the way to go. That's number one. Number two, it's time our political leadership in this country became responsible in their talks whenever they're doing their politics. You know, that's why they're there. They're politicians, but they should be responsible enough and act with restraint. Finally, I want to agree with Sheikh that it's time we believers stood in the gap for this country, because what is happening is actually warfare, spiritual warfare in this country between the kingdom of light and the kingdom of darkness. There are forces from hell that are crying out, agitating for blood. And the only way blood can be shed is through what we see on the streets. So we need to be aware and be a discerning nation as to what is happening in this country and pray for our nation, because Kenya is a prophetic nation and it has a prophetic mandate. We cannot allow it to go to the drain.
Okay. Makori?
To the leaders of our country, it's not what you say, it's how you say it that matters sometimes. So let's watch how we say things. And to Kenyans and to everybody else, and to the whole country, let's not fight against each other. Let's fight for peace and prosperity and a better country. If we use our energies to fight for something against rather than against each other, we will go further. Let's reject tribalism, let's reject divisiveness, let's embrace unity, let's fight for something, for a better country, for a better future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bishop, you have something burning.
I thought something, Trevor. I think Gen Zs have spoken.
Okay.
Our sons and daughters have spoken, Kenyans have spoken. It's now time for us to sit and begin to ask ourselves, what have our young people have said? Okay. What have the Gen Z said? Okay. What are Kenyans saying? And that's why this dialogue is very important. Let's not wash it under the carpet.
All right.
That's the way out.
Thank you so much. Dr. Danvas Makori, NCIC Commissioner, Bishop Dr. Kefa Omai, Chairperson, Kenya Coalition of Church Alliances and Ministries, also former presiding Bishop of Redeemed Gospel Church Incorporated, and Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome, Muslim scholar, speaking to us online from Eldoret. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening on the Monday Report. On behalf of everyone who made this possible, we say good night and God bless.
Download the I&M Bank app now or visit any I&M Bank branch and open your account today.
Let the day perish wherein I was born.
Every story is different. Some stories you find in the headlines, some come from the heart, but every story is worth hearing. Viusasa brings you Murder at Got Alila. We unwrap the mystery behind Robert Ouko's death. In Jane and Solomon, the self-confessed witness gives his account of the story.
My husband was not murdered on that sick.
From the truth